Junkie Radio with Gorgeous George and Gold. This is what we doing while we do it, baby. We rollin'!
Covering MMA from all over the world, this is the premier stop for all your combat sports needs. MMA Junkie Radio, the only show broadcasting live from the Mandalay Bay Resort and Casino in the fight capital of the world, Las Vegas, Nevada. The lights are on and the mics are hot. It's time to get your MMA fix, junkies. Take it away, Big John.
Gorgeous George and Goes, are you ready? Junkie Nation, are you ready? Well, let's get it on.
From the fight capital of the world, inside the beautiful Mandalay Bay Racing Sportsbook, you are listening to the MMA Junkie Radio Show, the only show that matters. I'm your host, Gorgeous George. With me as always is the devious and dastardly Goes. Our ace co-host to my left, it's the fight analyst, Dan Tom. Producing the show, Jumbo Josh. Although I hear Andre's there for the liftoff.
Yeah.
So shout out to Andre. All right, here we go. It's Friday, March 8th. Ready to start this weekend. I'm a little under the weather, so I want some rest. But make no mistake, I want some fights. And we get some on Saturday night with UFC Wichita, also known as UFC Wichita. Here I go. UFC Wichita, Dos Santos versus Willis, or UFC on ESPN.
Can't we just have a stance?
I know.
Can we just go with UFC Wichita?
It's easy. It's the easiest, right?
It's the easiest, yeah.
Yeah, because technically there's two Dos Santoses on that card, but we all know it's JDS versus Lewis. It's funny because I don't want to get sidetracked, but I was going through some other stuff, and the card will be called ESPN, UFC on ESPN 2 until they identify the main event, and then that's how it's kind of known on different websites. For us, we go with the plus, numerical number, I guess.
Sounds like we're calling it a missile strike every time we even bring up a card, dude.
I know. But it's Junior Dos Santos versus Derrick Lewis. That's the main event in Wichita. Should be a good card. In fact, one of the fighters from that card will join us soon. Tim Means, he'll be fighting on that fight card. He's on the main card, and he'll be fighting Nico Price. I don't know if you guys saw his little face-off they had earlier today, and Tim's intense, man. I love fighters that are intense like that. Oh, yeah. They're there to fight. They're there to perform. They're there to work. And when you have a high finishing rate, I'm your guy. I'm your fan. He's won 23 of his 28 fights via finishes. 19 of them, I believe, have been by KO, 4 via submission. So he goes out there, and he's not messing around.
Tim's got an intense smile.
I'm really looking forward to that fight. Yeah, me too. Just his whole vibe is intense. But we've only caught him on Fight Week, to be fair. He may be the most chill dude if you ever run into him when he's not in camp, you know?
Yeah, he's a nice, he's totally chill, super nice guy. What were you going to say, Dan?
I was going to say, you guys know him, obviously, more from interviewing over the years to kind of establish a rapport, if you will. But me and you guys were just talking before, George. You already here. You were grabbing some coffee. But while you stepped away, I should say, we were just talking about his style. And just stylistically speaking, one of my favorite fighters is to watch move in there.
Yeah, man. Just come to fight. And I still think you can blend the two, which is to be strategic and to fight. But I hate it when fighters are too strategic, and if the fight doesn't go their way, they never got off what they intended to do, which was all of the game planning and techniques. And so you can't just cruise into it. I mean, the other guy or gal is trying to rip your head off, so you always have to remember that. All right, joining us now on the hotline is UFC welterweight Tim Means. Again, he'll be fighting Nico Price tomorrow night at UFC Wichita. By the way, this is a Vegas-based show. I'll throw out the odds. Means is minus 200. Price comes back at a plus 160. Means is the favorite. What's up, Tim Means? How you doing, man? Good to have you back on MMA Junkie Radio.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Good to talk to everybody. How's it going?
Good. You know, more than anything, Tim, we've caught up with you for so many of your fights, either pre and post, or at least one or the other. And I saw that face-off, and I was like, how did this one slip by me? You know, there's so many fights, so many fighters to keep track of. And then I saw that face-off, and I was like, oh, man, even if he gives us 5-10 minutes, I'd love to chat with him before the fight. So it's always that intensity, you know, that you bring to Fight Week that's always made at least me a fan.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man. You know, you got to show up to fight and make people talk about it. You know, like you said, there's so many good fighters out there. Some of these fights are going under the radar, but this will be a mean fight.
You like that fight card that you're on? I mean, it's got a quality main event. It's going to a city that they've never been to. You're placed in the feature bout, third from the top. So you're pretty happy with your card placement?
Yeah. You know, I like it. I make the same amount of money no matter where I fight. So, you know, I get a lot of people talking about I got to win this fight to get in the money fights and things of that nature. But the way my contract, the UFC works their contracts, I make the same amount of money if I fought second like I did last time, or if I fight right before the co-main on this one. So it's for a free fight night. It's a stat card. So you know, I'm excited to get out there and got to meet a lot of the cool people here, a lot of the guys on the card, you know, that I've already been on cards with or whatever. So it's been very mellow here in Wichita, and you know, we're just hanging out now, having some dinner, and you know, my nephew Conor signed up for the Air Force, so we're going over supplements, what not to take and stay away from to get those positive tests, and you know, just hanging out with the family. Well,
shout out to Conor. Thank him for his anticipated service. That's great to hear. Which branch is he going to?
Going in the Air Force.
Air Force, okay. Did I miss that?
Yeah.
Sorry. All right, Air Force.
He'll be over there in about 7 weeks going into, or 7 months actually. You have the background check and all that good stuff, but he's a good kid. So.
By any chance, does he know where he's going, Tim?
No. Hey, where was he going? Anyway, he go to boot camp at San Antonio, Texas.
Ah, okay. We do a lot of work with an Air Force base out in Virginia, but one of their reps gets sent to San Antonio a lot as well. So I know those are like two of the bigger ones.
Yeah, he will be over there. So trying to get him up to speed on the supplement world.
Oh, nice. Very cool. All right, this is Tim Means that we're talking to, and he fights Nico Price on Saturday at UFC Wichita. And again, Means the favorite at -200. Price the underdog at +160. All right, Goes, what do you have for Tim Means?
Tim, we've been talking about your intensity a lot. Even after off the air, we were talking about it a little bit. In one of those stare downs, or even in a fight, can you maybe give us somebody that you feel has been able to match or come close to your intensity?
I'd like to say none of them, but that wouldn't be true. You know, I think like a Matt Brown, or I fought a guy named Fernando Perpetuo. That was very intense. You know, Alex Oliveira. You know, there's a lot of guys that are tough individuals, and you know, Nico Price matched the same way. You know, we weren't even saying nothing mean to each other. We just got each other's faces, and I told him, let's be friends by beating the shit out of each other. You know.
I love it. Now, the flip side of intensity. Let's talk a little bit about this ballroom dancing. Man, when I read this, dude, I love that story. So, can you catch our listeners up to speed? You signed up for kind of like a charity event, right, for your daughters? Is that how that worked out?
No, it was for Loveless Women's Hospital. It was for women's heart health.
Okay.
And my daughters were involved because the news, Van Tate with the local news, had hit me up, asked me if I'd be willing to be part of this event. You know, they had a bunch already, and I looked into it, and it looked like a guest speaking event. And I said, yes, I do it. And I've been telling my daughters, if you sign up for something, you have to finish it, no matter if you don't like it. You know, you get to do it. You get to make a decision and have an opinion on saying yes or no on the next one after you do something, right? So whenever I started getting these emails about, hey, it's a ballroom-style dancing event, it's Dancing with the Stars type of event, my daughters looked at me, and they're like, hey, Dad, you going to quit? Wind up having to get signed up with a coach, and actually had to go do a bunch of practices. And it was probably one of the more nerve-wracking things I've got to do, but my kids were involved, and you know, my wife, and it just turned out to be a really neat event. Got to work some footwork, so we're saying we're training for a fight rather than ballroom dancing. I was getting ready for a fight, we were saying. So it got to meet a bunch of new people, and it was for a great cause, and hell, you know, I might even do it again down the road.
Oh, nice. Well, you know, one thing that I've always heard was that one of the biggest fears, or the biggest fear in America, is public speaking. And I got to imagine going into a cage and fighting someone's got to be number 2 or 3 or something, right? So, I mean, for you to be able to do those two top things, but then when they switched it on you and said it was ballroom dancing, I'm glad that you brought up that there were a little bit of nerves, because, man, I would have shit my pants if I heard that.
Yeah, there was a bunch of nerves for you. The guest speaking thing isn't too bad now. I've done a lot of that stuff. You know, I was at a local high school. Got to kind of share a story with those guys to where, you know, I was talking to this motivational teacher, if you will, that helps you, gives you ideas of how to look at the crowd and most of the talks I do are to fifth grade and up, you know, middle school, high school. And this lady, before I told her what I was doing or whatever, the crowd I was gonna have, she was like, something that helps me is I kind of visualize my crowd in their underwear. And I was like, yeah, that was not going to work, man. I got a bunch of little kids over here, and I can't be putting them in bras and in their panties out there in the crowd. So we had to find a way to get through those things, and ultimately we just get a great response from the crowd and the fans and all that good stuff. But for the crowd, and the kids turned out to be good things, and I got to meet a lot of fun people doing that stuff. But I had to find a different way to get comfortable instead of putting them all in their underwear, you know?
Yeah.
So, Tim, did you have moves, prior to this, or like were you, one of them guys that has 2 left feet? How would you categorize your dancing abilities pre these ballroom
dancing? You put some beer in me at a wedding. I've been to a bunch of weddings, like a 2-step and all that. So, I could drink a few beers and jump on the dance floor. It's not a problem. But this one was the waltz. I had to learn the waltz, and then I went in there and got the steps down right away, and then Michiko was my teacher, a little Japanese lady who spoke broken English and was super hyper.
Uh-huh.
So she started adding all these twirls and spins, and we had to do all this stuff. We started on different sides of the floor, and we had to do all these twirls and turns and these weird, silly crap in my hands and to get to one another. So that stuff was much more challenging. When she was holding my hands and we were connected together or whatever, it wasn't a big deal. I could move with her and she could control, and she was the one who truly leading the dance. She made it look like I was in charge, but it was a turn or a wrench on the gears, if you will, when she made me start on a different side, and we had to work our way to one another and do some twirls and some skips and hops, and it got pretty intense.
Did you guys notice Tim said he may do it again? So it's not like that was a one and done. He actually enjoyed it.
Yeah, but his victory dance will probably be on point.
I was just gonna go there, Goes. I was just gonna say, Tim, do you remember when Anderson Silva beat Chris Lieben, and he kind of did this little dance? Do you remember that one?
I do. I do. Yeah.
So keep that in your head. If you're looking for a celebration, you come out on top, and you want to do something, maybe bust out a couple of them new waltz moves you got.
After watching Johnny Walker's celebration, I think I might lay off that. I want no injuries to happen,
So true. All right, Dan, finish things up. What do you have, Dan, for Tim Means?
Hey, Tim. I was looking through your Twitter feed, and somebody posted, and you retweeted it, a funny GIF from Happy Gilmore when Adam Sandler and Bob Barker are going at it. So I got to ask you, man, post-fight, is this going to be the case, or you going to bust out that quote, the Bob Barker quote? You can go ahead and curse on this show if you like, by the way, but...
Yeah, hell, man, I thought that whole quote was funny. Minus Adam Sandler got his ass whipped after he said the price is wrong, bitch, so we hope to flip that tide a little bit. But, this is an interesting matchup for the fact that I don't have to go find Nico. He's going to meet me in the middle and try to hurt me, and these are the fights I fight best in when I don't have to think and don't have to fight somebody off my leg for 15 minutes. This guy's been talking a whole bunch how he's going to finish me, but he'll be shooting takedowns, so I'm gonna have to catch him in those exchanges and just be well-rounded myself.
Absolutely, and I'm definitely looking forward to this fight. Obviously, we weren't blowing smoke earlier. Definitely a fan of your style, and Nico definitely puts on fun fights himself. So it's certainly a can't miss. But just one more thing, and I guess in regards to the post fight, you mentioned names before, obviously like Diego Sanchez and whatnot. He obviously just got a big win. Do you have any names in mind? Do you stick on the names you said before, or is it all just focusing on the objective ahead?
Nico has my full attention, and my thing with Diego was he's calling me out at 145, running through town to tell me to fight him at 145, but he's fighting guys at 170, Craig White and Mickey Gall, and then he's sending me all these weird messages on my Instagram telling me I don't have enough followers. I just started Instagram, but I don't have enough followers, and Mickey Gall and Craig White are bigger draws than I were. He says I put the fans to sleep and I'm boring, and my response to that was prior to the sign with Nico was I wanted him to prove just that. If I'm boring, let's put that to the test. His other response was calling me a dork, but that's coming from the Yes Cartwheel guy. Gets no nerdier than old Diego, but we've known each other for 20 years. All of our families know each other, and he just talks too damn much. And he wants to fight at 145, and what's he doing in my division?
Well, it's hard to think of a fantasy matchmake and not hit the bullseye with making fun matchups for someone like yourself, Tim. But that's definitely one I'd sign up for. Just one last one from me, kind of a fun one because again, we talk about your style, we talk about martial arts and fighting to death. But speaking of the Happy Gilmore little gift there, reminded me of my childhood, my younger years, I guess. Do you have any particular movies you like, Tim? What are you, a comedy guy, horror flick, action? What does Tim mean? What does Tim means watch for movies?
I'm a big comedy guy, man. I like Will Ferrell a lot. I Kevin Hart. I sit down and watch the little cheesy romantic ones with the wife. She usually falls asleep, so it's me stuck there by myself, trying to hold some tears back or whatever. But I'm a movie buff, man. I like all movies. So we watched The Notebook the other day, and my wife's behind me crying and sniffling, and comedy's most of the time. You get something like Adam Sandler or any one of those movies that get you cracking up, make you laugh, or like Bucky Larson, something that's just absolutely bonkers. That's out there that you have to rewind 50 times on some of those parts just to keep cracking up. So
good balance for comedy. Good balance.
Big movie buff, man.
All right, Tim. So thanks so much for the time. Get back to your dinner. Hopefully the food ain't cold, and man, do your thing. Get a good night's rest and put on that game face and go out there and fight like you always do. You're a hell of an entertainer, hell of a fighter. We enjoy covering you, and we appreciate your time.
Right on. Thanks, guys. Bye.
All right, we'll see you. That's Tim Means, folks, fighting tomorrow night at UFC Wichita versus Nico Price. Third fight down from the top of the bill. So there's the main, the co-main, and the feature bout. He's in the feature bout, so you're going to catch him on ESPN Plus. And we are going to go to break now. When we come back, we're going to talk a little bit about the latest out of Wichita, as well as breaking down JDS versus Derrick Lewis, and a little bit on another heavyweight who we've tracked for many years, Ben Rothwell. He's finally back after 2 years.
Damn! Tell your boss to reschedule that meeting. Call your wife and tell her lunch is off. It's time for more MMA Junkie Radio with Gorgeous George and Goes.
Tonight at 10:30 Eastern, the top two teams in the Western Conference clash when the Denver Nuggets visit the Golden State Warriors on NBA Radio, Sirius 207, XM86, and streaming on your phone at home on Sirius XM connected devices and speakers. All right, Denver's good, but they played last night, if I'm not mistaken. So I'd still say take Denver in the points, but you know I'm a big money line player, and I don't think I can say, hey, they'll beat Golden State in Golden State, but they're good. Got to keep an eye on them. All right, so we talked to one of the fighters from Wichita. Let's talk a little bit about the main event in Wichita. It was Tim Means that we just had on the show, and he's fighting Nico Price. And at the top of the bill is Junior Dos Santos versus Derrick Lewis. Again, I'll throw out the odds. Junior Dos Santos is minus 230. Derrick Lewis plus 180. Now, we haven't had Dan with us for a few days. Goes and I have already talked about this a little bit on our main event breakdown that we did earlier in the week with Dan and then throughout the week. But, Dan, have you seen anything different that sways you in another direction? And maybe give a little bit more of a thorough breakdown since you've been able to, you know, do your write-up and all that stuff.
On the main event? Yeah, you know, to be honest, you know, I kind of wanted to stay away from this fight, and I still want to stay away from this fight from a gambling perspective, guys. I mean, unless you're on Derrick Lewis, unless you're on that dog money, I don't blame you taking a shot there. But the line's still pretty too tight, a little too tight for me. What do you got there?
Minus 230 for Junior Dos Santos.
Oh, okay.
Plus 160. Oh, plus 180.
Okay, now it's getting more
Lewis.
tempting if you're a Derrick Lewis supporter. Before, when it was maybe in that plus 140 range, I still don't know if it's worth the shot, just because it's heavyweight and really, when you look at it, and it sounds so typical, you know, of a Derrick Lewis breakdown. You know, his opponent, Fighter X, is more technical than him in all these areas. But we know Derrick Lewis has the heart, the equalizing power from the ground, from the clinch, or from standing position. He's got some crazy kicks and knees as well. But I guess what I'm kind of worried about, and Derrick Lewis is so hard to read. You know, Daniel Cormier, you know, said before the fight, you know, he plays possum. I think he acts more hurt than he is. And I think he plays more – I'm not saying that's not true, but I think he plays more possum in interviews. And, you know, I don't know if you guys can co-sign or say, Dan, you're crazy on that. But, you know, it's hard to get a read on him, in other words, you know.
I think he likes it that way.
Yeah, I think so, too. I think it's misinformation. You know, you're like, oh, how serious is this guy taking it? And it's like, okay, well, I know he's taking it more serious than he leads on. But you still don't know how serious he's taking things, right?
Yeah, because every camp he'll say, now I'm really turning it up. And last few – I haven't, but now I'm really turning.
Wait, you weren't doing it before? You weren't eating good before? Wait, you weren't working? And it's always the same questions, and we're kind of like we catch ourselves asking the same one. We're like, are we asking the same? No, he's playing us right now. He's playing us. And
but he delivers. The results are that he delivers, with the exception of the title fight and I think a Mark Hunt fight. And in a win, he still looked terrible. So did his opponent in the Ngannou Lewis fight. For the most part, for the last 5 years, the dude just, you know, cleans people's clocks.
Yeah, absolutely. So the bigger question to me is more intangibles outside of the fight, outside of the techniques, guys. You know, you wonder, you know, I don't want to read too much into it, but we just saw with Woodley and Usman, you know, when you're spinning those plates, sure, Woodley was able to release a rap song before and still win against Darren Till. It's not that he can't be done, and props to Woodley for his candor, and he's a hard-working guy to balance that. But you got to wonder, does that cost you certain inches at the highest level when it's a game of inches in the first place, right? It's like football to the extreme in that extent. So now you do that with Derrick Lewis, and a couple guys on here have some weird turnarounds. But Derrick Lewis, where you have the turnaround where we thought he was overfought, you know, 2 fights before the UFC 230, which is why so many of us were surprised he took it, right? Thank goodness he gets paid. That's awesome. He gets the biggest payday of his career. That's a big storyline leading into it. We got to imagine we're not going to see Derrick Lewis for a minute, right? And then he gets some kind of a TV show that he's been doing, and he's busy there. Okay,
and they offered him fights in January and February. He had to turn those down just to get them to back off.
Which is kind of insane from their end. But still, we got to figure we're not going to see Lewis, but he comes back. So I guess what I'm asking is, you know, do you guys get any vibes from Lewis in that sense? Because I think it's going to, you know, depend on that. I think he come out and surprise us like he always tends to do. Or do we see like an extra flat, maybe Derrick Lewis out there? He even said to himself, you know, you go to our YouTube channel, MMAjunkie, with an interview with John Morgan. He's saying, he said this a couple times, guys. It doesn't feel like a fight week for me. It doesn't feel like a normal, I'm just happy to – and John prodded a little more, and he said it was down to the deal. He's happy with the money he's getting from the UFC to where it's not about them liking him or not.
Well, it is a step down from a pay-per-view in New York versus D.C.
Yeah.
Main event.
Right.
And then pay-per-view in Las Vegas on International Fight Week. Not the main event, but an incredible matchup versus Francis Ngannou. So the buzz around those two towns, those two fight weeks will definitely be bigger than what he experienced. Hell, he was even on the Conor McGregor fight. How did I forget that one?
Yeah.
That's the one he was on with Volkov. So that was even another fight that had a lot of buzz. So, yeah, I could see it feeling different. But, man, that comment is scaring me a little bit. I hope
he does it on purpose.
I hope that a rich, hungry a rich and fat Derrick Lewis, from his riches, isn't turning into a lazy Derrick Lewis. Like, I realize we're not going to get him in the gym 3 times per day.
Yes.
But just get us in there that 1 time per day. You know what I mean?
Yes.
We're only asking for 15 minutes. Sorry, this is a 25-minute fight. What am I thinking? I was going to say he's not a title fight, but yeah, a 25-minute fight. But, as long as this came up the other day, yesterday maybe, somebody said JDS is more technical. We all agreed. JDS is more technical. But my response to that guy was, and I think it was Kevin from Chicago, maybe it was John from Tampa, I don't know, was what I've noticed when it comes to the heavyweights is the fighters in the first round to the 5th round, they all stop being a lot technical. You know what I mean? A lot of it is just because they're big dudes. When they hit each other, even if it doesn't land flush, they're taking in damage. They're slowing down, and so they don't purr like kittens. Like a 55er can look good in the first minute, can look good in the last minute of the first round. Comes out in the second, still looks good. Comes out in the third, still looks a little bit like they're slowing down, but the techniques are there and all that. Whereas the heavyweights, man, I think it gets sloppy like in 90 seconds. So as that's happening, yes, Junior Santos is sharper, is more technical, but even those ones you take on the shoulder or you partially block, they add up, And my concern was just that JDS has taken damage in some of his fights. And when he does, he slows down a lot, and then all of a sudden it just becomes guys that are winging it. You know what I mean?
He gets less technical as the fight goes
Junior Santos?
on, too, though.
Oh, of course.
Yeah. He's technical in the beginning.
And things almost seem to even out. But now Derrick Lewis, the thing with Derrick Lewis is I don't care if his hands are down. I don't care if he's huffing and puffing. When he throws something at you, it still comes pretty viciously. Maybe not as much pop as the first round, but enough to KO you. Ask Alexander Volkov.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I felt like with the fact that I'm getting a little bit of money on the underdog play and the fact that I root for the underdogs, that's just my thing. I felt like it made sense for me to sit with Derrick Lewis on that one. But Junior Dos Santos used to be one of my favorites as well. He just took so much time off, and then he had a suspension that got righted. And I don't know, I just found myself like finding other fighters to get more invested in because he just hit a spell where, he had the same opponents or that time off. But I've always been a big fan of his too.
Dan said something at the beginning of the breakdown that it just reminded me of yesterday. Yesterday, a big gambler walked into the casino and asked me about that fight. And the first thing I told him was, don't bet it. Just sit back and have fun. And just watch. True. It's going to be a fun fight. And he said, but how would you see it break down? I'm like, don't bet it. Because I could tell you how this guy's going to win. I could tell you how that guy's going to win. But at the end of the day, these are just the two type of guys that all it takes is one punch, and they're going to be in a completely different fight. And this person would not get the hint. And they kept saying, but give me someone to bet. And I kept going, how about another fight? They go, nah, I want to bet this fight.
Take the dog.
Take the dog, right? I mean, you got to at that point, but I know that Monday, if that doesn't hit, that person's going to give me Frank Mir face.
Well, listen, if that guy's a big baller, so we'll call him a $1,000 player.
Okay.
It's the difference between going up there and saying, I'm risking $2,300 to win $1,000 versus I'm risking $1,000 to win $1,800. If we're coming up with reasons why both guys can win and both guys can lose, just the worst case scenario is you lose the $2,300 versus you lose the $1,000. But I'm telling you, I don't think that those odds should be like that. I think they should be a little bit closer. That's why they're a little bit more tempting to me. Whatever. If somebody out there has a strong opinion on JDS all day, there's no way he can lose. Call in. I'd love to hear it. 877-FIGHT93, 877-344-4893. But I think it's going to be a fun fight to watch for about round. And then after that, I just think it's going to be two big dudes. And whoever's got better defense, whoever's has a little bit better cardio, who's ever able to avoid some of those shots, is going to be in a good position to land a big shot and get the finish.
Yeah, I mean, just kind of rounding it back, I'm still going to side with Junior Dos Santos just because skilled strikers always seem to give Derrick Lewis problems, and that's his own admission. You go look at Mark Hunt, Matt Mitrione, fights like that. Even Sean Jordan hit him with a hook kick. That's how that one got finished off, even though it officially ended on the ground. And things like that. But to other points, Junior Dos Santos, you guys were talking earlier about him being technical. He's technical, but he's too reliant on being technical. That head movement against the fence always gets him in trouble. He was getting in trouble and getting him pieced up in that first Stipe fight. And the second one, obviously, got finished there. But
when he's pushing forward, he's as good as it gets. But there are times when he's retreating. What I don't like is the lateral movement of his feet with his arms out. That's not a defense in the heavyweight division. And somebody can just come in over the top. If he stands in close quarters and uses the footwork to pivot and find himself right back there, he'll be okay. You know what I mean? But there's been times when he's doing it and he gets away from that, and then all of a sudden he gets hit with some punches that tag him. And he's a little bit older now. He's wearing some of the damage from the career that he's had.
That's why I like his body jab. He used that in the first Stipe fight, and then as well as Ben Rothwell. When he used that, when he's backing up, it's really good. He'll sometimes even change stance to a southpaw stance, and he'll kind of he'll go from a southpaw going away and then step right back into his orthodox stance and lower his level and body jab. The thing is, though, if Derrick Lewis was talking about he felt like I forget what the reason he gave. He said he didn't have his knees or his kicks available to him. He felt that would have made a difference in the Cormier fight. I wondered if he does that here with JDS, because, again, JDS is real comfortable with his head movement, and Derrick Lewis can get his kicks up high, but it's the back.
Even the switch kick he gets up there.
Yeah, but it's the back problem that's always the issue. And kind of back around to, again, the intangible of Derrick Lewis. It comes outside of the cage, guys. We've talked about this before, and correct me if I'm wrong, guys. I feel like I pressed it a little harder in one time than the other. But he will concede that he had back issues, and it did lead to his weight gain about the middle of his career, but he never really talks about getting it back down, and it's crazy now. He's talking about he's cutting down from 285 and saying that's not bad. But you go watch his his ninja armbar win over Raheem Cleveland, who early in their careers, granted. I mean, he looks really slim. He's you're going to see weigh-in numbers around in the mid 240s. Earlier, maybe lighter, but you don't really get those listed on Tapology. But he's weighing around the mid 240s. So if he's cutting down from 285, that means that's over 40 pounds plus that he's really just gained as far as just walking weight goes. And granted, he's a heavyweight, but you got to wonder that does that mean the back's not healthy, or does that mean the back's healthy and he's just maybe some of that is true when he says that he's not really training or worried about the diet.
That's the scary thing. And it's hard to really pinpoint because he's pretty consistent with his trolling or the misdirects. I mean, he messes around with us. He gives us chuckles. But on that one time when you think, something leads me to believe that maybe he didn't have the best camp, all of a sudden he goes out there and just has a great fight and gets a great win, and that's that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's pretty gifted. I mean, athletically, he's really, really gifted. He's got a lot of power, and he really has rounded out his game from when he first started, from when he came through Legacy. And now that he's got all this experience in big fights, I think he even knows how to manage his energy output, because this, again, is 25 minutes. I would take a page out of, who was it, Aldo recently, that's been saying, no, if I'm not fighting for a title, I'm not main eventing.
He's brilliant.
Just give me the 15 minutes.
Smart.
Damage-wise, cardio-wise, you know what I mean? I would say start taking a page out of that. Now,
already established.
Now, that said, we've covered Derrick for 5 years now, probably. I can think about 4 or 5 times where we've discussed the new contract. This guy seems to get a lot of contracts.
Yeah.
For one, he fights pretty often, so I can see him just going through them. 2, they call on him for when they're in jams, and so I'm sure he goes to the negotiation table and maybe says, okay, well, what can we do here?
Yeah.
Shout out to Lou DeBono.
I think that's why
who looks out for him, and so he's been able to put himself in a good position. I mean, recall, guys, about 3.5 years ago, he said he wanted to be done. He wanted to retire, and we all kind of believed him. You know what I mean? Imagine had he done that, he probably would have missed out on about anywhere between $3 and $5 million that he's made since then.
Guys, I'm sure you want to move on to other fights, but just one last thing while we're mentioning money on this fight. I know we did the math before on guys with the best calendar year or whatever, or best year, and I don't know if it was a year and a half or year, but we talked about Justin Gaethje and those fights, the winning, even the losing, because he got bonuses. He had the tough deal was in there, whatever, signing bonus. You kind of did that math of his first year. He did an insane amount, right? We did that math. Now I wonder what you do if you do Derrick Lewis. Let's see how he does here. Even though he didn't get a win bonus or a performance bonus of any sort for UFC 230, obviously he got paid ridiculous there. And then Volkov obviously gets his win. He gets the bonus, $50K bonus there. I wonder where he'll stack up. Something tells me I think Gaethje may still edge him out, but that'd be an interesting one. Guys with the best calendar year,
big time,
money wise.
Yeah. All right, tell me this: if Lewis wins, how do you envision it happening? Is there a certain combo, a certain punch, a certain sequence that's kind of been a go-to when he's successful in ending fights?
I think it's going to be a punch off the break and against the fence, kind of like what I was saying before with JDS. He gets way too comfortable there, and he kind of just does that head leaning.
So JDS against the fence?
Yeah,
back to the fence.
Against the fence, whether he's backing up, whether it's kind of off a clinch break. Derrick Lewis is pushing him close. He goes to take him down. Derrick Lewis doesn't do takedowns very much. He's got a kind of a blast double. He'll dust off occasionally, but JDS got really good takedown defense, so I could see him maybe just bullying him to the fence, maybe not getting him down, and JDS trying to separate, and I think he gets easy separation. And Derrick Lewis, boom, kind of like that right hook. Hunt knocked out Congo. Remember that, guys?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. See it like that.
And then JDS, what's his go-to money sequence to finish a fight, or what begins, what hurts somebody and then leads to a finish?
That's the thing. JDS, and here's another interesting thing. Where JDS has some advantages here, if he wants to go to it, is also what could lead to Derrick Lewis winning, which doesn't involve the scenario I just said. It's his kicks. Since he went to American Top Team, he's quietly got really good kicks, right? We saw a little bit of those with the Stipe fight. Even Stipe acknowledged it. And even like front teeps and things like that. Now, the danger of those, if he throws those naked, that's when you get in trouble, We saw, that's what got Volkov in trouble with Derrick Lewis. You just referenced that fight, George, and it was off of a front kick, a front teep there, and Derrick Lewis timed it. You throw those naked kicks, by round 2 and 3, Derrick Lewis is going to have you timed if you don't have him out of there.
Yeah.
So I see those kicks, the body jab, because again, if body work that's the one thing that does seem to bother Derrick. Now you can again maybe say he's playing possum a bit on some of those occasions, but the guy's getting hit to the body a little too much and reacting too genuinely.
Is that when he had to go doo-doo though?
Yeah, there's that one. There's that one. And I'm sure he's playing maybe that part of it up, but the guy's been
hot. We don't know.
Yeah, but the guy's been hurt to the body in a lot of his fights, even outside of that fight. So and that's the funny thing is we're talking about JDS more technical. Here's the thing too, guys. Not only could JDS win, but here's the thing: he could blow him out all 5 rounds and get an accumulative stoppage, possibly 2, which is kind of what I outlined on my breakdown. You can find that at MMAjunkie.com. But here's the thing: he could do that, and it could be a one-sided drubbing, and we sit back and go, oh, yeah, that kind of, no offense to Derrick Lewis, but that kind of made sense, It really just could be one of those fights as well. And I don't think, even though he's the favorite, I don't think we're really considering that.
I don't envision that one. I envision that JDS can win the fight for sure.
Right.
I've seen that guy blast a lot of people over the years. But I don't see one guy dominating the other guy. I just think both guys are just very, very powerful, and they're alert, and they have decent fight Q. Did you want to chime in on the main event, or?
Yeah, I just want to say one thing. So after this gentleman left, I started watching the fights a little bit more closely to give him a better answer, because now I felt bad. There's a lot of money on the line, and the one thing I kept seeing was, for as fast as JDS can throw, man, his hands come back really slow. And something that you were saying, Dan, I could see him throwing something kind of lazy and Derrick countering and just beating him back.
Especially later in the fight.
Maybe later in the fight. But I think for a dog, Derrick Lewis, but I did tell him I feel like the best JDS beats the best Derrick Lewis.
What's the reach advantage for Derrick? Because it seems like what Derrick can do is just cover a lot of distance, even on windmills.
2 inches off the top of my head. I think
Really?
it's 79 to a 77 we're looking at. And no, definitely there's that, especially if Junior Dos Santos gets more tired as the fight goes on. But yeah, it's tough, man. Heavyweight. I mean, I'm keeping my money away. Although I will say, Derrick Lewis, if you're really in deep in the degenerate land and you're a live better, Derrick Lewis is one of those guys you also want to live bet because he always gets off to bad starts and comes from behind. So even if like you're getting him at like a plus 150 on the bookends, I bet you live, especially after a first round and Derrick Lewis starts getting pieced up a little bit, he's going to be coming in like you're going to see some ridiculous like plus 3 or plus 400 numbers, and then you hit your Derrick Lewis then if you want to take your flyer, make more bang for your buck for you online live bettors.
All right, there you have it. And Dan has a podcast, The Protect Your Neck. Did I get that right? The
Yes,
Protect
sir.
Your Neck podcast that you can check out, as well as his breakdowns on MMA Junkie. And follow him on Twitter at DanTomMMA. He's really, 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 really good at that. Okay, so let's stick with the heavyweight theme, fellas.
Ooh.
Ben Rothwell's back after a 2-year layoff. And I don't know if you guys caught the interview on MMA Junkie. It's available on the front page. You got to maybe scroll down a little bit, but that's a game face.
Yeah.
You know, but it looked like he was just looking through John. John was the interviewer. And I'm anxious to see what Ben was able to do these past 2 years, because early on, especially IFL days, it was a big, powerful, big white dude from Wisconsin. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You don't want to get your mitts on you or whatever. And then he started developing some techniques, and then the go-go choke that he went to for so long. So he always seems to come back better, but I'm anxious to see. However, let's go to a couple of the audio clips from the interview that he did with MMA Junkie. These first 2 questions are how he managed his time during his suspension.
You were really quiet during your 2 years away during the suspension. I know that, we were all kind of curious to know. They say you don't have feelings and emotions, but when somebody puts your career on hold, I've got to think that you've got some feelings or some emotions. Why did you choose to shy away? Why did you choose to keep quiet?
So everything and anything to deal with my past is something that will be discussed, but not at this time.
Why do you choose not to address it now? Is there a particular reason?
Those reasons are personal, and when the time comes, I'll let you know.
I kind of like it. He's not going to let...
He's upfront about it at least.
He's not going to let the media take control of it, because John wasn't going to be the only guy that interviewed him that week. Obviously, we want the best answers possible anytime any of our guys or gals are there. But if that's his stance, I like that he kind of pretty much gave a strong stance. The focus is to get through this fight, and then you'll hear something from my end. You know what I mean? Whether it's a statement or just kind of like his own private media day, I don't know. But he's not going to let that mess with him, because then the blogs or others just go and start ripping apart his comments. And then all of a sudden, if he goes back and sees it, it may mess with him. You know what I mean? He's an emotional fighter, and he wants to get through fight week. So, believe it or not, I kind of like the response. So it's a step up from no comment.
It's intense.
But it was, it was exactly what how a fighter should tackle it.
And he didn't beat around the bush. I mean, he was pretty upfront about what he wanted to do, and so I'm okay with it.
All right, this next one, John asked him about USADA. USADA in the last few years, as you know, some fighters have quietly just taken it and said, hey, okay, I messed up and that's that, and I'll serve my time. And then there's been a lot of others that have been able to beat USADA, whether it's the tainted supplement defense or whatever. And so Ben obviously this happened 2 years ago, and John asked him about his faith in USADA. Let's play cut 2, please.
Do you believe in USADA? There's questions about how they do things and the way they proceed. Do you still have faith in that system based on your experience?
I'm going to put them into also associated with my past, and they too will be addressed when the time comes.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
The intense dude. By the way, we know this guy pretty well.
Which I believe
he is like a big teddy bear.
He sure is. If that was a yes, he would have said yes. So my belief is that he doesn't. He's never really, I guess, formally given too much of a defense on his behalf. You know, other than I think there was a statement early on in which he felt like he was an innocent man. But after that, there wasn't much. But yeah, I mean, and this has been a common theme. A lot of fighters just they aren't on board with the way.
In the last 12 months, would you say
USADA signed up for another 3 years,
right?
if I'm not mistaken. What?
In the last 12 months, wouldn't you say it's starting to turn a little bit, where now even guys that haven't been through something bad are kind of like, I don't know about this.
Correct, because of the inconsistencies.
Hey, impromptu Ben Rothwell style stun gun, guys. If you guys had to use that same sentence, what body would you attack? Could be a McDonald's or whatever. If you had to use the sentence Ben Rothwell used, where he goes, "They too will be dealt with in time."
You know what? A round table pizza.
Yeah. Whoa, that's your boys.
I've been thinking. Oh no, meaning I'm gonna fuck that pizza up.
Oh, okay. Well, that's
you
how
put
you
it in
want to
front of me.
No, he's talking about he's talking about USADA. Like, they'll be dealt with.
I don't know
time,
the
like
name
he
of this
says
person, but today somebody did something to me that I would want to.
You could
do
replace
that to a Walmart. Yeah.
What'd they do?
This old man, he had a cart in front of him, and I saw it. His leg just kind of gave out. His knee, he just fell to the floor. So I had one thing in my hand, and I went to go help him up, but I need 2 hands to help him up. So when I went to help him up, I put the one thing in his cart and then helped him up. And he said, "Thank you." And then he looked at me and he said, "Do you expect me to pay for that?" And I was like, "What the fuck?
Jesus.
I just helped you up. You
Wow.
thought my plan was to leave that in your cart, follow you around, watch you pay for it, and then somehow sneak it out of your bag back into like, that was my plan?"
So what'd you tell him though, for real?
I go, "No, are you crazy? I was just helping you up."
What'd he say?
He just goes,
Jesus.
He got you then, huh? I think that's still. I still think you should have said "old fool" as you walked away.
Maybe, yeah.
He was Dana White looking for a fight, maybe, huh?
Man, are you expecting?
But
wow, what a jerk! All right, we gotta step out for just a second here. When we come back, we'll talk a little bit about some of the latest news out there. There's a fight that fell apart but instantly replaced in the middleweight division. It's a main event at an upcoming UFC card in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. And then there's some troubling news about a UFC light heavyweight / heavyweight. Actually, right now he's really a retired fighter, but he's teased a possible comeback, so we'll kind of go over that as well. It's MMA Junkie Radio on Fight Nation, Channel 93. Jeez, what's up his ass? All right. All right, so let's talk about the fight that fell apart and the fight that's replacing it. Anybody that's headed to on April 27th, it's no longer in Miami, by the way. It's in Fort Lauderdale. So anybody that was headed to that fight card, I guess they were calling it UFC Miami. It's now taking place in Sunrise, Florida. The main event was going to be Paulo Costa versus Yoel Romero. If you'll recall, they were going to mix it up in New York last year. Costa got hurt. Then they rebooked it for January. Then Romero got hurt. And then it was going to be rebooked yet again for that fight card. Costa's out, guys. Sucks, right?
Yeah, it sucks because you want to see, like,
young guy and old guy.
That was the next level fight for him.
Exactly.
And you want to see that progression to be made, and you want new challengers to come out for that division. So, but, you know, that's one hell of a replacement. It's just
I haven't said who it is yet.
All right.
Do you know who it is? No, I'm just kidding. So Goes knows who it is, and who is stepping in for Paulo Costa is Ronaldo Jacare Souza. So this will be Romero versus Souza 2. They fought once before. Romero got a decision win that propelled him actually to a title shot. This is UFC on ESPN. Big ESPN. It'll be the third version of that one on April 27th. Look, I'd rather have the fresh matchup in Costa, but if he can't go, he can't go. And even though I immediately go, I've seen this before, that wears off 10 seconds later. This will be a great fight, guys.
It's just one of those where it'll be a great night the night of, but when it's done, it's like it doesn't really do anything for the landscape of MMA. But, hey, man, you want to see two people scrap? That's a good fight.
Especially because, you know, I don't know, my brain definitely doesn't work like most people because I'm kind of crazy.
I was just telling George that the other day.
And yeah, well, I know. And I associate things funny, but, you know, that fight happened originally at UFC 194, right, guys? And there's at least 2 fights just on the main card I could think of that I would want to see rematch. And I think we all wanted to see and maybe came close to being rematched and never got to happen. Obviously, that's Conor McGregor, Jose Aldo, and Chris Weidman, Luke Rockhold, which had plenty of spots where that could have been done, I feel, before Rockhold made his ascension up to 205. So I think, you know.
But even then, he's talked about 185 again if the matchup's right. Until Rockhold fights, it's like I won't believe what division he's in. But, yeah, I would think he's headed to 205. DC's no longer there, and it's, you know, I think wasn't he saying something about Jones the other day, or I forget. He wants to be the guy that maybe unseats Jones.
I think he was, and for sure that's not a fair way to frame this matchup. I'm more with the Goz's camp as far as I'll be excited when it gets here.
Yeah.
But did you guys hear what MMA Junkie John was uncovering? It was actually was Carlos Cepata. Did you know what a shoot face? Antonio
calling Acosta.
Yeah, and I guess that was supposed to be
for Rio.
Yeah,
and sounds like it's not a serious injury then.
That's right, and I guess it was the point where it was going to be serious or whatnot. I was just listening to John's podcast on the way in here, and he said we actually had a story about getting written up, and he thought he was going to have the scoop on it. And sure enough, I believe it was Brett Okamoto drops that breaking that they're actually going this direction instead, and and hence now we got Souza and Romero. So yeah, it was definitely maybe some last minute calls and audibles there.
Real quick here, we're on our way out of this first hour. So a young lady in Florida has filed a restraining order against retired UFC fighter Anthony Johnson.
Oh.
And I read through this. It's a temporary injunction because there's no immediate present danger or anything. But I hate these types of allegations because they're so damaging if they're found to not be true. You know what I mean? This apparently has to do with maybe alleged online stalking or whatever. So it's just a story that's out there.
Recent
and it just happened. It just went down. This story just went up today. But let's work through all the details and find out what's going on. It's MMA Junkie Radio on Fight Nation Channel 93, and we'll be right back.
Damn! They are the stretch marks on the underbelly of the MMA community. But hey, stretch marks are the new tats. They are Gorgeous George and Goes.
Yeah, this pound for pound is one of the best walkout songs out there, that's for sure.
Was this one that he picked out or Dana?
I don't know.
There's a few that Dana has just told people, like, this is your walkout. I know Marcus Davis was one.
California Kid, Uriah Favors.
Yeah.
Okay.
We should do that. Have you done that yet? Top 5? Come on. Yeah,
Walkouts?
Sandman's good. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Then the
Yeah.
walkouts, yeah, for sure. That was a fun episode because I actually spliced the, since we're actually talking and sampling and I don't make any money, it was all fair use, but I actually sampled all the, me and my guest, Jordan Killian, we sampled all our, whichever ones we talked about, we would play in the background. That was a fun one. Walkouts, man. It's fun.
Yeah, good walkout song's key, man. Cerrone's got a good one.
Yeah, he does.
All right, speaking of Cerrone, he was one of the guys that was rumored to be facing Conor McGregor, and that one seems to have lost a little bit of the buzz that it had. Even Dana White was warm to it not too long ago, but it seems like there's reluctance for Conor McGregor to accept that matchup unless he's in the main event. And it looks like the UFC is trying to stick to a stance where the title fights are always the main event, which means that fight would be the co-main event on a fight card that has a main event. And, of course, we know it would be a pay-per-view. I guess Conor doesn't want that. I stated yesterday, hey, of the two parties, I'd go to the UFC first and go, man, a bunch of money's going to be made. Just let the guy walk out last. I don't even think the champion's going to care, honestly. Just do that. Break that stance for once. The other side would be for me to just go to Conor and go, listen, dog, just walk out, fucking, just do the co-main event. You're not going to be the last guy of the night. Either
Right.
It's the title challenger and then the champion. I'm sure you can get over that. You're bathing in hundreds and you're making money. You know what I mean? So, like, get over that too. But I would go to the UFC first because I think Conor is just that special once-in-a-lifetime athlete that if that's the concession you got to make, I'm right. You know what I mean? Just do that one.
Can't you just start your stance after that?
Who? UFC?
Yeah.
Yeah, because if he wins, he might be in a title shot, and then it wouldn't apply. Now that said, Conor had a few things lingering. First of all, Nevada. Hey, I think he has to give them some money and serve 6 months. Which in 1 month, I think that'll be done. Then he just has to write the check. Don't quote me what it is. I think it's $50,000. I think is what he had to come up with. Ooh. But in New York, remember the dolly and the bus incident?
Who doesn't?
He avoided jail time, but he had to do some community service. He quietly did that recently. TMZ reported Friday that he completed a sentence. He had to do 5 days of community service and some anger management course. ESPN has already confirmed that this has been done. Apparently what he did was he performed manual labor at 2 different churches in the Brooklyn, New York area. So the approach here was to just not draw any extra attention and let it be about him. So apparently everybody who worked with him at these 2 churches said he was a great guy, did what he needed to do, and I think even one of the reverends had a nice one-on-one with him. So all has come out of this. I guess he's kind of his reputation's shining a little bit brighter than the G that he was, last April.
How funny would it be if the bishop or whatever, the priest you just referencing, they release a picture like, oh boy, you guys got this Conor McGregor fella all wrong. He's a very nice lad. He came and helped do the community service. We're grateful for having him here, and it's a picture of them with Patty Houlihan. he paid one of his buddies to go do it for him.
Can you believe that?
That Conor McGregor stand-in,
it's
that guy that comes out here to Vegas. Can you imagine that?
It's like that scene in Good Will Hunting, guys, right, where he sends Ben Affleck for the interview for him, and the scene cuts, and it's
retainer.
Honestly, if I were the judge in that,
Nice.
I would probably laugh. I just probably go, all right.
He got me?
You got me, but go do your thing.
Oh, really? I think I'd go. You got me. Write the church a couple checks and.
Okay, yeah.
We're done with this whole circus,
Great.
But good on him to do it, and I liked his approach. He stayed out of the limelight. He got what he needed to be done. And who knows if his approach was maybe it was humiliation to him.
It had to have been.
Either that or just he didn't want the nuns and the priests and all the cameras and the focus to be,
right,
for it to turn into that type of circus. But regardless, he got the job done. I'm going to go with the positive and say He just didn't want to draw any attention, and he got it done. So,
Yeah.
In 1 month, he'll be free to clear to fight because even though this has already been fulfilled, Nevada State Athletic Commission was a 6-month suspension, so that'll be fulfilled. He could technically fight on the April 13th card in Atlanta, Georgia, which is called UFC 236. But that already has the 2 title fights, and it's too soon. And he said he wanted to fight in Brazil. I mean, Brazil could use more. Brazil's been stacking up their card very nicely, but Rose Namajunas would be his best friend. Why do you think you know what I mean?
Do that?
Fight in Brazil?
Yeah.
I think he has fans there, believe it or not. And he loves the passion of the fans, but it was the last card. Let me think here. I think it had to do with Adesanya and Anderson. And Anderson was saying, I'd love to fight. At the time, it was going to be in Curitiba. And he was picking out Nick Diaz to fight. And he said he would love that. And me and Nate on the same card. Let's get it done. He says, I love the Brazilian fans. I love fighting in Brazil. It's a great country. Something along the lines. But he says, he has great recollections of that, and he would want to do that. But to me, Conor strikes me as the UFC is not going to let him go. Unless it was a big stadium show, international somewhere. He's a Vegas guy or a New York guy.
That's why I think he just says it because he knows that they wouldn't do it. Just sounds cool, you know.
Although that UFC 237 card, if you're going to fight on a Brazil card in this day and age, like that seems like one to do it. Or I don't know if is it 230. Yeah, I mean, like I think they should just call it UFC 237. Dan Thomas crying, or UFC hardcore fans are crying because you have Jose Aldo, Anderson Silva, Little Nog, BJ Penn. I want to say all in matchups that are probably they're not going to be favored to win.
Probably.
It's going to be a very sad night.
So Penn's got Guida, Big Nog's got, or Little Nog's got who?
I don't know Little. That's what I'm trying to look up. Anderson's got Cannonier.
Look on the junkie
and I'm not saying I'm picking these guys to win, guys. I'm just saying.
Oh, Cannonier's tough, man.
On there, and even though I've been on Aldo at least one half of this little resurgence on his last one, right? I was on Stevens in the one fight before that. But that being said, as fun as that ride has been, and we were just talking about the pluses of a 3-round Aldo, right, guys? Mm-hmm. Volkanovski's a bad matchup for him, man. Especially after what we just saw. He showed that he can take that Mendez heat.
Switching gears real quick, guys. PFL has revealed that we now know the division officially. We all kind of knew. But officially we know what the 6th division will be for Season 2.
Okay,
so in Season 1 they had featherweight, that's 45.
Mm-hmm.
Lightweight, that's 55. PFL, Professional Fighters League. 70, welterweights. 85. You know what? For the noobs, I better say it this way. 145 pounds for the featherweights. 155 pounds for the lightweights. 170 pounds for the welterweights. 185 pounds for the middleweights. 205 pounds for the light heavyweights. And 206 and over for, actually 206 and a half and over for the heavyweights. They each got $1 million. Season 1 was a success. Now they're on ESPN. In Season 2, they got rid of the middleweights. So now they're going featherweight. Now I'm going to shorten it to 45. You all know what I'm saying. 55 lightweight, 70 welterweight, 205 light heavyweight and heavyweight. And now that middleweight's gone, and that's why Lewis Taylor is going down to become a welterweight in Season 2. Mm-hmm. It's the women's lightweight division, 155 pounds. That's what's going to be the 6th division, and they will also compete for $1 million. So who's in that division? Well, we all know Kayla Harrison is their golden child. Former 2-time Olympic gold medalist Kayla Harrison, 3-0 in mixed martial arts. She's leading the pack there. There's 8 ladies that were announced. And I don't know if they'll have 12 whittled down to 8 or if it's just going to be a straight 8. But the ones that we have here are Sarah Kaufman, a former Strikeforce and Invicta Bantamweight champ. Jenna Fabian, Bobby Joe Dalziel, Svetlana Kautova, Roberta Samad, Larissa Pacheco, I know that one. She's fought in the UFC if I'm not mistaken. Morgan Fryer. So those are the other 6, along with Kaufman and Kayla Harrison.
You got to watch out for Kaufman, I think, on that one. Kayla Harrison, for as impressive as she's been, she hasn't had that much experience. So
Kaufman's got good hands.
She's still somewhere where I think somebody with experience like that can maybe catch her. I don't know that it's so much a home run as some people have been making it sound like. Give her the check now.
Yeah, Kaufman's can defend well against the fence takedown. She's got that, even though she'll be a blown-up 135er to be the crude description, really that she's really physical for 135. She could compete at 145, especially with the pull of 145ers. And, yeah, that stoutness is going to kind of help that takedown defense, especially against a taller, judo Kayla. She's going to have to change her levels even more if she wants to get lower, or obviously go toward the more judo-based upper body attacks, which obviously it's in her wheelhouse. But to your guys' point, I'm not saying I'd pick her straight up. I'd have to take a closer look, but very good point there.
Yeah, so that one's done. And season 2 kicks off on May 9th, and apparently they're going to do 3 shows in a row up in Uniondale, which is in Long Island. So, of the 6 regular season matchups, 3 have already been revealed to be, I guess they're sticking with the same stadium. I think that might be where the New York Islanders from the NHL team play, which where Chris Weidman beat Calvin Gastelum, if I'm not mistaken. And I'm sure Ray Cooper hopes he's not on one of those cards because that's a 10-hour flight from Hawaii all the way to New York. Remember,
I never thought of that until he brought it up.
Yeah.
For some reason, I feel like we should have a caller from Uniondale who's kind of like a Mike from Miami. I feel like Uniondale would have a caller like that has a guy they get behind.
That we do have one. He'd be perfect. His name's Steve Carroll. He's come out to a few junkie gatherings, but he's from Long Island. When I had to host a viewing party once in New York. And it was with Gian Vellante and Chris Weidman. And at the very end, when the fighters were taking pictures, Steve Carroll, who had come out to hang out, whatever, with some other junkies, Sam Aljam, our cousins Richard and Chris, he locked eyes with Vellante, and Vellante gave him like the head nod. Hey, what's up? So I think he knows them and they know him, and so that could be our roving reporter for those 3 fights.
There we go.
Send him with a ticket and he probably tell us what happened on a Monday. I mean, we can watch the fights on ESPN, but we used to do something like that when we first started Tag Radio. If you were going to a smaller show somewhere, give us you were a roving reporter, and on Monday you'd call in and say, okay, guys, I was at Hoosier Fights in Indiana, and nobody, there wasn't even an internet stream. And then that guy would call in and say, all right, this was the main event. It had someone like a Josh Neer, like that, a Midwest name, and this happened, and it looked like it was 2000. It was only like 5 things to cover. Give us the attendance. Who was the main event? Were the ring girls hot? I forget. We were just starting out, goofing off, and that was it. But remember
Billy McDonald did it one
roving
time?
Reporter,
Chili Billy?
right?
Yeah, it was for like a shark fight.
Chili Billy.
And then
was it the Jorge Masvidal versus Paul Daly shark fight? Was it that one?
I'm not sure if it was that one.
It was the one where Don Fry was doing commentary.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, partner.
Dude, maybe not that old school, but somewhat old. I referenced, how about a condolence to Mike from Miami? I mean, is anybody taking the Barao streak like hard? There's one person taking it harder than him and Barao, guys. And I'm not trying to pick on Mike from Miami. Shouts to if you're listening to Mike. Call in.
Miami,
but remember that guy for newer listeners to the program. I want to say, guys, it's right around the same time, maybe before. You guys can clarify. Before Dana White went on his hype train, where he was like, "Listen, Barao's one of the best pound for pound fighters." This guy Mike from Miami called and he was like, Barao, dog. And you guys picked up on it real easy. You really like Barao, huh? And you guys would try to get him to talk about other things. And he would circle back to Barao. He loved him so much.
And Barao was on a streak, and then all of a sudden Dillashaw got him, and the guy was never the same. And he did call a few times after some losses and just say, man, but he'll be back, you know?
Right.
And
he's a good fan.
But I guess it's probably been about a year, maybe since the last call, 2 years?
Probably, yeah, about a year.
Shouts to him.
Sticking with the ladies' theme, Happy International Women's Day.
Ah, that's right. Good call.
I had forgotten about that holiday until WhatsApp was popping up in the morning, and I had a lot of my cousins and uncles wishing all the females a happy day. I was like, for a second there, I was kind of groggy. Is this Mother's Day? What's going on here, you know? But, yeah, that's right. It's International Women's Day.
When's Men's Day?
I don't know.
Valentine's Day, of course.
Valentine's
Day? Men's Day?
Yeah, that's when the women does the nice stuff for us, right? I'm just kidding. That's Women's Day, too. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. That's terrible. Look at me. I'm steering it off.
Is there a special woman for International Women's Day that you want to give a shout-out to?
MMA related?
Mother, of course.
Okay, yeah.
Our mother, Nilda, at home, back from Peru. Happy Women's Day.
How about you, Danto?
Nice. Well, my mom always gets a shout out for sure. That way. So I'll give a shout out to my mom too, and I'll queue up if you come back to me later. I'll get an MMA one queued up for you.
All right, I'm gonna go with Cinnamon at the Spearmint Rhino.
Yeah.
Man, she gives. No, I'm just kidding.
Christ.
Of course, the lovely Juliet would be mine. Thank you, Ghost, for taking the one for Mom, because then I was in the spot. Mom.
Oh, I thought you were gonna try and trick me, so that's why I thought you were setting me up.
That's good. There you go,
Juliet. Happy International Women's Day to you, and to all the ladies out there that
how about Josh?
Josh says it's International
Josh,
Men's
who are
Day.
you gonna dedicate yours to? Your shout out for International Women's Day.
Josh is currently stepping out, so it's me, Andre, here. But I like to give a shout out to my mom and my girl.
But we didn't ask you though. No, I'm just kidding. So who?
Squeezing it in.
Wait, but he
my
took
mom,
two.
of course.
You took two, you cheater. Pick one.
Sorry, you. I can't pick one. That's the thing. When you have a girlfriend and a mom, they're kind of tug-of-warring for you. So you gotta do both to play safe.
Technically, he said my mom and then my girlfriend first.
Yeah,
though,
so we're just gonna take it as his mom.
Yeah, your mom's getting the shout out.
All right, say how you want, but I said both.
He said International Men's Day is November 19th. What the fuck? I didn't hear anything
November
on that
19th?
day. Did you?
No one's ever wished me that.
Yeah.
Well, you gotta start begging for it. Mark
International
it on your
Men's Day?
19th.
What's it called
Yeah,
officially? International Men's Day?
Yeah, if today's Women's Day and the 19th of November is Men's Day.
Is it to the point where now every day is something, right? Like Happy Pizza Day, that sort of like Burrito Day. But are they? Is there like a thing that where you can read all these?
I feel like beer and Dog Day are the ones that pop up more than once a year. Those
When
are the
is
ones
Dog
where I'm
Day?
like, when I see it pop up on Instagram or like National Dog Day or National IPA or Beer Day, I'm like, this was a couple months ago. Now I'm not that far off and disconnected. I know I'm very disconnected and far off, but some of these things start to get.
Pizza Day feels like it pops up a few times.
You know what's funny is when you land on the day and you don't realize that. Like I went to Baby Stacks yesterday with my mom today, and it was National Pancakes Day. I didn't even know, and I was like,
really?
all right, there we go.
Damn,
I had a bite of
All right,
hers.
guys. International Beer Day is April 7th, and that lands on.
It was just National Beer Day like not long ago. See what I mean? This is exactly what I'm talking about.
Where are you looking at this, Andre?
Googling it.
But is there like a master calendar, or are you just doing one by one?
I'm doing them one by one, but I'm pretty sure there is the master calendar.
Where's that? What's Dog Day?
Let me get that for you.
You know where I really give the ladies that do daps, like if I did a top 5 list, it wouldn't even be like sports or athletics. It'd be music, man. Something about female singers hit something the male singers can't. And
maybe
when I think about like women that inspire me and get me moving, and a lot of them are musicians, man.
You know what though? Does anybody think it's kind of lame that we just had Valentine's Day and now it's International Women's Day?
It's been less than a month.
Yeah, they should have spread that out a little bit, right?
Well,
especially
it's in between. It's in between Valentine's Day and Mother's Day, so you got to put something in between so we get tracked.
I can't find a Dog Day.
Nothing?
Dog Day is August 26th.
August 26th.
All right, that's pretty cool. All right, we'll see if we can find some more, and we'll share them with you when we come back. We are going to take a quick break, and aside from finding out more of these unknown holidays, we'll also do our daily debate. So stay tuned. It's MMA Junkie Radio on Fight Nation Channel 93. Everybody knows it's duck season.
Rabbit season.
Duck season.
Rabbit season.
Whether it's food, less filling.
Tastes great.
Less filling.
Tastes great.
Gambling. Always bet on black.
I like red.
Black.
Red.
Black.
Red.
Black, dummy.
Or even social media.
Instagram.
Snapchat.
Instagram.
Snapchat.
The same applies to the biggest stories in MMA. Time for MMA Junkie Radio's Daily Debate.
All right, fools. Today's Daily Debate question for at MMA Junkie Radio. Bellator got its first simultaneous dual champion, also known as the Champ, in January, when Ryan Bader won the heavyweight title. Who do you think has the best chance to become the next Bellator Champ? Your choices are Derrick Caldwell, that's the Bellator bantamweight champ at 135. Patricio Freire, that's the Bellator featherweight champion at 145. Gegard Mousasi, that's the Bellator middleweight champion at 185. Or other. Go ahead, Goes.
Michael Chandler. I'm going to go other. I think we've already seen what he can do at 155. And I'm not saying that at one. I know you guys are thinking 10 pounds lower. I think he could do it. I don't think he would do it. I'm talking more welterweight. And he's teased it before.
Against Roy McDonald.
And he has one of those reputations where I think it would be easy for him to just kind of get that fight. Same a la Conor McGregor, right? At any moment, you could just give him what he wants. They like him that way. So I'm going to go with Michael Chandler.
I think you're wrong.
Really?
Here's why. Not that I don't think he can win a title in another division. But
tell him he said that.
Tell him. He still has, first of all, the first round of the welterweight Grand Prix hasn't even played out. Mm-hmm. So first it's John Fitch against Roy McDonald. Then you got the semifinals. Then you got the finals. And then when all that's over, you're looking at 2020. This says who's got the best chance. So you're saying that in all of 2019 and the first part of 2020, Chandler's got the best chance. I don't know. I'll go, since I'm already mid-sentence or, mid-take, I'll just go. I think it's Gegard Mousasi. Here's why.
Think so?
Yeah. Freire should be the automatic answer.
Okay.
Because he actually has the fight booked. It's Michael Chandler. So all he has to do is show up and win. I'm not saying he's gonna. Right? I'll tip my hand right now. I'm going to go with Chandler in that one. But he's already got the fight. These other guys don't even have the fight. But because I don't think he can beat Chandler, what I think is that Bader got a little bit of that taste of being a heavyweight. He's done well. And he said on our show, excuse me, that he needs to negotiate a new contract. He's going to negotiate as a heavyweight, which means light heavyweight's going to be left behind. And guess who's won a prestigious light heavyweight title before? Gegard Mousasi. He was a Strikeforce light heavyweight champion. Mm-hmm. So that's why I believe it'll be Gegard Mousasi. Derrick Caldwell already had an opportunity to go to Ryzen and fight for another belt there. It didn't go his way. I think he's going to come back and he's going to have to do some title defenses. But he can't fight Freire until Freire fights Chandler. And then Freire's going to be involved in a featherweight Grand Prix as well later this year. So Caldwell's chance is shrinking there. So that's why I'm going with Mousasi. Pretty well thought out, huh?
Not bad, not bad.
Pretty good.
I'm standing by my answer, though, but go ahead, Dan.
I kind of don't disagree with George in a lot of ways. My answer is going to be different, though. Caldwell could have been a low-key answer, but obviously he's tied up with a loss to Horiguchi. I don't see him going anywhere soon, and obviously the featherweight champ is going up to face Chandler. Mousasi could be interesting because he could beat Bader, but Mousasi's had some inconsistent performances, and I could see a Bader, repeating what King Mo did and laying on him. But regardless of what you think, it's who's going to get it next, and there's already one fight booked as far as potential champ, and that is Patricio Freire. And I know it's no secret to any listeners here that we tend to pick Michael Chandler a lot. Look into that statement as you will. But I'll say this right now, guys. I'll say this right now, guys. I think he's got a really good chance to upset. As a Michael Chandler fan, as much as I can be as a media member, I don't like this fight for Michael Chandler. Not saying I'm picking against him, but don't be surprised if you see a Pitbull brother in my slot. I feel like this is a very sleeper trap fight, guys. So with that being said, with it being on the books, my answer is Patricio Freire.
All right, well, this is how it broke down. It was kind of a landslide. Gegard Mousasi at 80%.
Okay.
And then the others are really grouped together. Freire comes in number 2 at 8. Caldwell and other comes in at number 6. Over 1,000 votes were registered by Junkie Nation, the readers of the site, and the listeners of the show. So thank you all for participating. All right, that's today's daily debate. Now, I want to give a couple shout-outs to some of those that also chimed in here. This one is at MMA Geezer. He says 80% of the people going to say Mousasi because Frady and Caldwell aren't as well known. So he took a different strategy. Or at least that was his take.
That's a fair argument.
Yeah. At 613_Shifty, Moose ain't winning another belt unless he cuts to welter. So he has Mousasi going in another direction.
Would do that.
You know, at one point, guys, Mousasi also beat Mark Hunt, a heavyweight.
Okay.
Yep. So that guy's been kind of a money weight fighter in the past.
No joke.
Anyway, shout out to both of those for participating. When I said Shifty, who did you think of?
Oh, that one guy that made me run all over town.
Nifty?
Was that his name?
I think his name was
Oh,
Nifty.
yeah. Oh, that was the worst. Wow. Oh, I don't want to. Yeah, that was just that was a crazy incident.
Why did he? Wait, I thought he just badgered you like on the phone.
Yeah.
I didn't know that you had to run around all around town.
Well, because we used to go to the same supermarket, and I would run into him there, and so I would see his car because that was his license plate, and I'd be like, "Fuck, I got to go to another place," and like, I mean, because like these are like conversations that would last 30 minutes, an hour. I just can't be doing that, man.
So Dan, we used to host these viewing parties at a strip bar, right? What was the name of it?
Flex?
No.
Muscles?
Flex.
It was over
Sorry.
here.
Sorry.
What was it?
I don't know, but we had some good attendance early on, and it started to grow a little bit.
I
But
fell down the stairs at that. Remember, like The Exorcist?
The swinging
all the way
sausage.
from the top? Yeah, all the way to the bottom.
what?
Remember Mike Whitehead asked
Yeah.
us to, all of a sudden, he had a party, and he goes, and now Goes is gonna say something. Didn't tell me anything. He just said that, and I was like, what? I was upstairs, and I was super hammered, and I'm like, huh? And then like everybody was downstairs, and they go, come here, say something. I didn't even know what the topic was.
I didn't know.
So then I went. The first step I took, I fell down the
Jeez.
stairs.
Really?
Yeah, that's
all the way to
Trig.
the bottom.
Trig was there too. He was laughing his ass off. It just boom, 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 boom. I
Did
fell
that
over.
hurt? I
Hell
was
yeah,
scared
it
to
hurt.
fall
But I was so
downstairs.
drunk that I didn't really feel pain at the moment. I was still like, and then on
What
top
did you
of it,
think you were
I still
doing
had to go up
above
there and say
everybody like that?
something.
Did you think you were like Chris Angel and you just levitated that?
No,
high?
because half the people were up on top, and then half of the people had gone down for some sort of like.
Right, but when he said come down and talk, didn't you know that you're supposed to put one
I
foot
was
in front of the
drunk.
other?
I was drunk, and I was still trying to figure out like, did he say me? And then like, bah, 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 bah. The worst part was like everybody was looking because I was like looking over the top.
I remember we had a listener named Scott, and he got under Heath Herring's nerves so bad. I thought Heath Herring was
yeah.
going to grab him by the neck.
What was that place called?
What? No, that's not the Tombstone. What is it? The Power
Was
Slam?
Heath Herring
Yeah.
wearing the duster there?
No,
Actually, he did have a hat.
he may have been.
Makes
But
the
he
tap
just
dances a bunch
kept
or something.
going and going. So the fighters that used to go were really, really cool. And then it just kind of, they weren't able to do the next one or whatever. But it had a name. What was it?
Yeah,
The
it's
swinging
killing
sausage.
me. You probably went there once with one of our things.
How are you so familiar with all these names?
I don't know. I'm actually making up gay bar names in my head, but no. But how funny would that be?
I forget what it was, but
The Bada Bing?
Bada Bing, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I never been. I remember when you guys were doing those. That's right.
That's
Yeah,
what it was,
right.
yeah.
And remember, Steve Straub was so hammered that we had to put him in a closet.
My God.
What? Like the mush?
That was one of the worst nights of my life. And then I had to come get him later. I had to like negotiate with him just to move from. All they wanted to do was move him from one chair to the other. Like him and I.
And what happened?
He wouldn't do it. He wouldn't do it. So then they said, all right, we're just going to have to wheel him into this office and leave him there.
Because he wouldn't get out of the chair, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so if I recall, didn't he somehow make it into the owner's suite?
Yeah,
Or
that's where we had to get him out of.
And so the owner comes up to us and goes, your buddy's just sitting there. And we're like, oh, we'll get him. And we said, Straub, you got to get out of there, man. You got to go to one of the other rooms where the chicks are, you know, topless. And for some reason, he was so out of it that he wouldn't do it. So then every time we tried, he fought us off. He wouldn't do it, right? Is that how it boiled down?
He wouldn't do it.
So then we said, so you're not going to leave the chair? And he said, no. So we actually wheeled the chair into a room, kind of opened the door. Just picture like someone's, what's the room that in someone's house you rarely go in? The laundry room, right? Or something like that. You just open it there, put him in there, and closed it. But that's how much of a pain in the ass he was. I'm telling you, yesterday you told that other
and
story.
he had a Hawaiian shirt on,
What was
remember?
the story you told about me that I totally forgot?
Do
Do you remember, Josh?
I don't. I remember.
Oh, the plates, King Mo and the plates.
Yeah,
and it's true, man. Somebody was telling me, he goes, man, those are some great stories. I'm like, you know what? When we go down that road, I'll see if we can tell more of it because we have some pretty classic stories over the years. But that's one where Heath Herring, he wanted to squeeze Scott's neck and just expire him right there. And I guess Goes fell down the stairs because Mike Whitehead, former Tough 2 and UFC light heavyweight, asked him to do a speech. And then the one with Straub.
Straub had a Hawaiian shirt on. And they wanted him to pay for it because he had just grabbed it and thrown it on because he had thrown up on his shirt, I think.
Right.
And so they're like, you need to pay for that shirt. And I'm like, what shirt? And I look at him. He's wearing like a Hawaiian shirt. And they go, yeah, he threw up on his. It's like somewhere. You got to go get it. I had to pick it up. Dude, that night was horrible.
How did it end?
Horrible. We left him. We had no other choice. We had to leave him. And they go, all right, we're just going to leave him here. And then I think they put him in the elevator.
Did he spend the night there?
He spent the night there. Yeah, we had no choice.
Wow. There was no Uber back then, right?
No.
And then, do you remember? I won't say this involves a lady, but do you remember Trig and Nikki had a friend, W?
Oh my god!
And then there was something there as well too, right?
Not at that club, but one time we were staying at. This is before we had moved out to Vegas, and we were staying at Trig's house. And this might be the drunkest 4 days of my life, because it was Trig's birthday. But he kept celebrating it with different people. Like one night was Dan Henderson and Randy Couture, remember, at Pure? And then another night was like his family, and then another night another celebrity. And so anyways, towards the tail end of this, there was a friend that back then I used to write this blog on MySpace, and we would talk about these little adventures of getting drunk. And she's like, you guys can't hang with me. And this is like day 4, dude. We're hurting. We're at TGI Fridays. But whatever. So we start pouring drinks. Everybody's getting drunk again. So when everybody got back to Trig's, everybody was like, I'm going to take a nap, I'm going to take a nap. So George goes to his room, Trig goes to his. I go to the room that I'm staying in, and this girl's sleeping in my bed. And I'm like, what? I just met you. Like, what are you doing? And she wouldn't move. And finally I was like, all right, this makes no sense. So I kind of try and like shake her a little bit. Finally she woke up, and she's like, oh my God, I don't know what I'm doing here. And she took off. So then I fall asleep. And then she comes back, and when she wakes me up, she's like right by my face, and I like freak out. I go, whoa! And she goes, where's my earring? And I go, your earring? And she goes, where's my earring? And I'm like, I don't know where your earring's at. And I guess she had lost it or something, and it just happened to be kind of like by my hand, so it looked like I was hiding it. But yeah, that was a weird trip, dude.
Well, when by the way, before we forget, guys, make this an Op Topic Tuesday for the future. Best / worst fight party stories. Like even when you're talking about, the what do you call the Steve Straub in the random room at the strip club? Like you're saying that, and
we were
you know what I'm picturing / would have been funny for the room that he ended up in. Josh.
Oh boy,
you're not very far off.
Or what if you went into your room?
That's the room we wanted to put him in. That's for sure.
The next morning when we went to get him, he was gone already. They told him they had to put him out through the elevator in the back. Somebody had come pick him out.
There was no Uber. So couldn't show him. I guess we could have put him in the cab, but we couldn't even get him out of the chair.
Well, it sounds like he's so messed up. Even if you put him in the room with the gimp, like he probably wouldn't react to it. It sounds like, right?
He wouldn't know that it happened.
We wrote on him too. Remember that? We wrote I'm on the front on his back, like tramp stamp area. We wrote I'm stupid, and then on his belly, I think we wrote I'm fat. And he didn't even find out like till like later the next day or something.
And then, do you remember when we had I remember I had a party at the house in Santa Ana, and I think it was Crocker was messed up so bad that Alton had to take a dump, right? While Crocker was just laying on the ground.
Or he had to take it sideways.
Yeah, he had to take a dump with his legs kind of like sidewideways, sitting down sideways, because he couldn't get the other guy to move. Like and he announced to him, I have to go to the bathroom, and I'll just go, and I have to take it. Just go, and that was that bad. Like
he had to do it with the guy at his feet, and then when he went to bed, Charlie was passed out in his bed.
Dude.
How is it that someone gets that? I don't think I've ever been that bad that I would want to be in the presence of a man taking a dump like that.
Because when he went to bed, he had actually a bed in the garage. We had to set up an air mattress in there, and Charlie and our cousin Charlie passed out in his bed. So then he had to sleep in the living room, and he put a blanket on. George used to have a roommate that really wasn't like much of a party guy. I don't know if we can mention his. No, the other guy from another coast. And
John.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so he had not met Alton yet. So Alton passed out in the living room, and then all of a sudden, when he's starting to like come to, that person was walking around in the living room. We had all left to prepare for the birthday party, and he thought that guy was breaking into the house, and he didn't know what to do, so he tried to stay quiet. But he was trying to dial on his cell phone, like, "Hey, there's somebody in your house," because he was like looking through drawers, but he was just looking for the remote control.
Wow.
Oh man.
So and then the other day, John threw me into a tweet where he said, "Hey, it's not my story, but maybe George can tell it. I won't be able to tell it today because it'll take too long. But remind me one day to tell the Alexander Emelianenko story at the hotel.
Yeah,
that was like literally an all-night adventure, pretty much. I think things started from
scariest things ever
after the fights, which fights ended around 10.
Dude.
We're probably back at the hotel by 11 till about 5 in the morning.
Talk about the wrong people to pair together drinking Alton and Alexander Emelianenko. How would that go, Goes?
Not good. But I left you at like midnight, and I didn't hear from you until like 5 a.m. And I would get these weird texts every now and again from you, like with updates. That I'm like, you guys are still out. And then I had to confront him in the morning. That was scary too.
Alexander?
Yeah, at the buffet, Disneyland.
Oh, that's right.
And I didn't really know too much about what happened the night before, so it was okay. So it was pretty crazy.
And his wife was mad, right?
She was.
That was not his current wife.
Oh my god!
I think he got in some trouble recently.
Hey, really quick. I'm sorry I didn't say Happy Women's Day to my girlfriend Laura. I thought George was setting me up. Here's what I thought was going to happen. I would have said, "Oh, Happy Women's Day, Laura," and then George would have said, "Well, that's funny because Mom's listening right now. I thought I was being set up."
Oh.
And then George said, "Happy." I look like a turd. She gave you a lot of points though.
All right, we got somebody on hold. Who do we got?
We got one of our favorite callers, Kevin from Chicago.
What's up, Kevin? How you doing?
What's up, guys? I'm going to wait on the daily debate real quick. Michael Chandler, I don't know. Do you think he would move up to 170? He seems pretty like a small. It doesn't seem like a big 155-pounder.
He brought it up one time, and I think it was directed towards Paul Daly. And when we heard it, we were like, "Are you sure?" And he said, "Yeah, I'd do it. I'd do it for the right fight." So for a champ, I think he'd do it. I'm not saying he would fare very well, but I think he'd do it.
McDonald's a beast, and he's big.
And he's big.
So it's no disrespect to any of the lower weight class champions. When you go up, you got your hands full. And like I say, Kevin's right. I've also noticed it because that's why I've asked Michael Chandler in the past, would you ever go down to 145? Just look at him. Chandler and Alvarez are almost about the same height, same build and everything. Now look at Alvarez when he stands next to like Cowboy Cerrone. You know, it looks like he's being dwarfed. There's just a lot of those taller guys, and he's going to be going up against a taller guy in another division. It's too much.
You know, I will say just one add-on before Kevin gets to the other points or questions in his call is I didn't say, though, I actually predict Douglas Lima to come on top of this tournament. But the funny thing is I wouldn't predict a welterweight champion in that case being a double champ. Obviously, Rory sitting champ. He already had his chance. But Douglas Lima, the one foil to his game is people that can wrestle. So he goes up. Mousasi could take him down. Or the hypothetical that I believe Kevin might have been mentioning here. I could see that path for Chandler, too, if he wanted to play it smart and do the takedown game. So it's not like you wouldn't have a path.
Yeah, that's a good point. He may be able to out-wrestle Lima, but Lima's a big dude, man.
Yeah, he is.
And he's got improved wrestling defense. He showed improved wrestling defense against Koreshkov. I just don't see chance. I think those are all tough fights to get up there against 170. I think he'd have a better chance at 145. I think he can make 145. I definitely think he could take the belt at 145. But I think the best, most likely chance would be Darren Caldwell at 145. I could see him moving up and taking the belt. I know he recently lost to
Horiguchi.
who's a Japanese fellow?
He fought Horiguchi, yeah.
In that.
So
he recently lost. He was winning the fight the first 2 rounds, and he lost that 3rd round by a guillotine. But that was in the ring with the ropes. I don't think he's used to that. I think he's going to win the rematch in the cage. I could definitely see him taking the belt at 145.
Right, but the problem is he'd have to enter that tournament. And so he would have to beat Horiguchi and then hope that that tournament hasn't started yet and get a shot at Frady. And so that means he has to hope that Frady comes out of the Chandler fight healthy. So the question had to do with the best chance of doing it. Remember, the featherweight Grand Prix starts in September. So that right away will kind of take the champion out of the equation. So that's why we felt I like Caldwell's skills. I think he's a beast, but I just think timing will prevent that from being a reality.
Yeah, that's a good point. I forgot about the featherweight tournament.
Yep.
And I was going to say Gegard Mousasi, but I just keep thinking back to the Alexander Shlemenko fight. I felt like Shlemenko won that fight, and it's hard to pull the trigger on Shlemenko. That good win against Rory McDonald, but their skills are kind of similar. I felt like he canceled out skills. Rory's a little bit more technical fighter. I think you got to get in there, just be a dog against someone like Gegard Mousasi. But that's my take for today, guys. Take it easy.
See you, man. We're going to take our last break. It's MMA Junkie Radio on Fight Nation Channel 93. Stay close. We'll be right back. We'll do our final predictions for UFC Wichita.
I get paid to say things in this cool voice, and they get paid to be lame. Here are Gorgeous George and Goes.
All right, tomorrow morning, don't miss a full slate of Premier League action as Crystal Palace battles Brighton, Southampton squares off against Tottenham, and Manchester City hosts Watford. Coverage begins at 7 Eastern on SiriusXM FC 157 and streaming on your phone or at home on SiriusXM connected devices and speakers. Goes, if I'm not mistaken, I think Man U and Arsenal are tomorrow as well.
No, I think it's Sunday.
It's Sunday? Is it?
Sunday at 9 a.m., I think.
Let's see here. Let me make sure it
is.
is.
I can be found of missing.
Sunday at 9:30, yeah. Okay. One more shout-out for International Women's Day. How about Fernanda Prates? This is the first time she's ever been at the top of the leaderboard for MMA Junkie.
Shouts.
And it was funny because she was one of the last to turn it in, and she said, "Oh, I've never been at the top. I just wanted to savor it an extra day." I thought it was pretty funny, and I had to like double take because Fernanda's never at the top.
Nice.
She's a basement dweller like myself, but she is leading the way. I mean, granted, there's a tie at the top with her and Trent Reinsmith, but I guess when you're the last one to have vaulted to the top, you get that little tiebreaker. So, here's what she's doing, by the way. She's going with Dos Santos, Zaleski, Means, Ivanov, Dariush, and Boch. So that's our leader right there. That's what she's going with. Dan Tom's going with Dos Santos, Millender, Means, Rothwell, Dariush, and Boch.
Trent's the same, right?
Trent is going with JDS, Millender, Means, Rothwell, Dariush, and Boch.
Okay. I got to imagine there's going to be a lot of different picks on this one, though, right, guys? Because a lot of these matchups are pretty tight. Like,
yeah, just the main event's a coin flip.
But we tend to do that. I notice we'll all be on like with the same guy a lot of times with our staff picks, right? And is that
somehow I'm always 20 picks behind, so I don't know what's happening.
That's why the long pause. You had to scroll all the way to the bottom.
Goes has Lewis, Millender, Price. Oh, could have mentioned that earlier.
Wait a minute. Price?
Yeah, it says Price right there.
I got to look. That might be a mistake.
Ooh.
Rothwell, Dariush, and Akhmedov. I went with Lewis, Millender, Means, Rothwell, Dariush, and Akhmedov. So
you did put Price out by accident?
Yeah, it was by accident.
Okay. Yeah, I was gonna say
that our staff picks are all available there at the on the front page of MMA Junkie Radio, or sorry, MMAjunkie.com. And if you scroll down, we always have our picks there. A lot of my casual friends are like, "Who do you like?" I'm like, "Dude, these are the gun to the head picks."
Right.
And I usually pick them pretty quick. And I know I win more than I lose, but I said you can either get mine there or just go to the top, and whoever's leading, that's the hot hand. Go with that person.
There you go.
But a lot of those also are so much chalk that you have to give up. You know what I mean? So usually these are different from my parlays. Not by a lot. Some of them are the same, but you know those can be a little bit different. But
picking is better. Is different than gambling.
I just don't understand how my buddies still say like, "Who are your picks?" When God, we've been doing that for 5 years. It's on the app. It's on the on the laptops or whatever on the website.
People are lazy.
Holy cow! It's
the
literally
worst one,
right there,
and I can't do it anymore. That's one of the things I hated the most about changing times is I would always, one of my best friends would always call me during showtime, and I would tell him, "Don't you know that for the last 9 years my show is at this time? Why do you keep calling me?" And now I can't do that because it's only been like 2 months.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. I know you're right. I tried to look at as my strategy because I think that served me well last year. I wasn't really looking at the standings when I did it well, and then as soon as I started looking, I just fell. I fell hard. I lost my #1 spot toward the end of the last year. So I'm gonna try to look at the standings, but I do see internal stuff as far as who picks who, and we have a little talks, and that that was one thing where the Zaleski and Millender fight. I don't think this is not too much of a peek behind the curtain, but Fernando was like, "Wow, I'm surprised I'm the only person picking Zaleski Dos Santos." That's a co-main event, so maybe we were going to talk about that anyways, touch it at least on the way out here. But, I feel like that's such a close fight on the odds that a lot of times there will be close fights on the odds, and they really are close fights, but you'll see all of us in the staff pick to one guy. And it kind of give that impression like, they're disrespecting this guy. It's not even that. Like, I saw some, people conjecture back like, yeah, no, Zaleski's definitely got a good shot. It just, for whatever reason, we all have our different reasons. I have my reasons for going for Millender, but we're picking him. My heart, if anything, is with Zaleski. That guy's been really at it. He's got he could be undefeated in the UFC if not for one split decision, right?
His 3-0 in the UFC has just come against higher competition on higher profile cards.
I could see that. I could see that
too.
What I'm saying? Oh yeah.
So it almost outweighs the 6-1 record. I mean, this right here, if Zaleski can get past Millender, the 7-1 is going to be so much greater than the 6-1. Not because 7 is one more than 6, but because now he's beating a guy that's also out there beating, tough dudes. So, we'll see now if he goes to 6-2, and you go, who are his losses? And you go, I see. He's one of those fighters that's just kind of coming up short against the higher competition. You start to kind of go, okay, that's someone that's going to have to take a step back so that they can go 2 steps forward, and that means get better. RDA is a perfect example. RDA is a guy that early on was probably winning 6 fights, losing 4 or 7-3 or whatever. Yeah. And then once he got the Kings and he started developing a formidable striking attack, he went on to become a world champion, man. He was a beast. And that's not just as a lightweight. As a welterweight, he's a contender. He'll always be a contender because he's that good.
But believe it or not, these picks that we're talking about, they're on MMAjunkie.com. And fighters have actually gotten upset over us picking somebody else. It's happened to George. It's happened to myself. I think you've been called out before on the air.
Oh, yeah.
And they're pretty big-name fighters. It's pissed off before in the past, so people definitely do pay attention.
And shout out to the readers of the site. The readers of the site are technically the leaders.
Always.
In year 1, Mike Bond won it. And I can't remember if the readers even beat Mike Bond, but the readers were out of control. They were good. The last few years, whoever won it for our site was even beating the readers. So that's the collective, the consensus, right? But right now, the readers are winning, and the readers are going with Dos Santos, Millender, Price, Rothwell, Dariush, and Tim Boach. Hey, real quick, give me a 3-team parlay, guys. You go first, Goose.
I am going to go with the following. I like Jermaine Dirandami.
Live dog.
Where's her out?
Jermaine.
Sorry, Marion Renault. Sorry.
Okay.
I'm going to go with her. And I'm going to go with Curtis Millender.
Okay.
And believe it or not, as stupid as this sounds, because I did pick, I just made a mistake, but I was going to go with Tim Means.
Okay, how about you, Dan?
I'm not going to do the two favorite one dog combo. The dog that I'm playing for what it's worth is going to be Tim Bosch there.
Okay.
But a three people team. Tim Means, who's probably the strongest parlay piece if you have to gun to the head.
Okay.
I'll pair him up with 2 other straight plays that I'm doing. Chalk, Luis Smolka and Alex Morono. I mean, you pair just a combination of 2 of those 3 names, you're getting plus money. You pair all 3, maybe a decent amount. I'm not saying to run out and bet it. Who knows? Maybe I will now. I'll hold myself to it, guys. Why not? I'll hold myself to it.
Boach, Morano, and Smolka?
Yep.
Is that who you said? Or Means Morano and Smolka?
Means Morano Smolka. Boach is the
dog.
I'm going to sprinkle on a couple more dogs than that, guys, but that's probably the most confident dog. I know you love them dogs, George.
I do, yeah. I'm going with Millender, Means, and my dog will be Lewis.
Okay. That's a good dog to have.
Yeah, and I'm just going to enjoy the Rothwell fight. I'm glad to see him back in action. Both guys are tough, man. You know how I feel about layoffs. So, we'll see. All right. We have to get on out of here. I want to thank all of our guests for the week, including today's guest, Tim Means. We also talked to Eric Nixick, Curtis Millender, Duke Rufus, David Feldman, and Ray Cooper III. We'll be back on Monday with another edition of MMA Junkie Radio. For Jumbo Josh, Andre, if he's still around, Dan Tom, Goes, I'm George. Have a nice weekend. Keep it locked on MMA Junkie. Enjoy the fights, and go out there and be a champion.